Welcome to our introduction to multimedia advocacy. RICS Research and Media was built around this whole idea of multimedia advocacy, and we're going to unpack that now and explain what the term means. When we first developed multimedia advocacy back in the early years of the RICS Centre, as it was then called, we were really excited about the new opportunities for communication and self-advocacy that the new media forms that we had to play with could achieve. The essence of the RICS approach has always been about what we call the living lab. That is, the laboratory is the community. We work with people on the ground who are trying to lead their lives to their best ability and to realise their goals and ambitions. We introduce new media and we work closely with people to find out the best ways in which these tools can help. Multimedia advocacy didn't just come from nowhere. We were picking up and building on popular uses of photography and media, like home movies, like family photography, those family albums we have at home where we capture our lives and those of our loved ones and celebrate our life stories. The RICS multimedia advocacy approach also had its roots in community media work, community photography, community video work, phototherapy, drama therapy, life story practice, which was already being used with people with a learning disability, particularly older people with learning disabilities who were coming out of institutions and telling their stories. The name RICS, of RICS Centre and RICS Research and Media, comes from Lord Ricks, Brian Ricks, a man who spent his long life campaigning for people with learning disabilities and president of MenCap, the largest disability organisation in the UK. So RICS was established particularly to benefit people who have a learning disability. Learning disability, it's a label really, but what we really mean is those people who have particular challenges around organising their thoughts, around remembering things, their memory, and also around their communication, which is complex and as a result often not fully understood. We carry these tools around in our pockets and they're precisely for organising our thoughts, assisting our memories and making our communication more effective. Can you see the connection? I mean, I use the to-do list on here. I've also got a diary. My day is organised with the aid of multimedia devices. Similarly, my memory, well, I don't need my memory quite so much. This remembers phone numbers, places, appointments. It even buzzes me 15 minutes before I'm meant to go to a meeting. These are great memory aids, aren't they? And then what about communication? Well, obviously, this is great for giving someone a ring or sending a text, but it also carries my personal library of photos and video clips that I can use to help tell people about me, about my life, about what I've been up to. Ultimately, new media tools work really well around exactly the challenges that people with learning disabilities face. Why aren't these integral to the way we support people with a learning disability? They're really convenient for us. They can make a step change for people who have a learning disability. And that's the principle behind the RICS approach to multimedia advocacy. So, multimedia advocacy is about using these social media tools that we have to benefit people with a learning disability. It's about making the tools we all use accessible to people with a learning disability and looking at ways in which they can then be applied to how we support people. The important thing about multimedia advocacy, however, is it's not about making fantastic wiki websites, or at least that's only relevant if it's part of a wider process. Firstly, the process of communication as we create this wonderful website. Secondly, how that process of communication then impacts on the life of the individual we're supporting. Does it really benefit people? Does it help them to build their social networks, to identify their goals and to achieve their ambitions? That's the crux behind multimedia advocacy. It's a process. It's kind of trendy. It's about using technology, which is popular with people, particularly young people. It's empowering. It gets people into the digital age. It means that people aren't digitally excluded as well as being excluded in all those other ways that people with learning disabilities can experience. So it's important to remember that multimedia advocacy is itself a process, but also that it's part of the wider process of supporting people and empowering them so that they can identify their wishes, make choices, realise their ambitions in wider life. But by practicing multimedia advocacy, we're working in new ways, aren't we? We're introducing tools which we might be familiar with in our personal lives into professional settings. And as such, we have a new role to think about, a new set of responsibilities to consider, and we have new practices to polish and improve to make sure we do things the right way to benefit people the best.